BW Healthcare World. We've been doing series of conversations on Thursday Thought Leaders with Harbinder Narula. But today's episode, we have a special guest. The special guest is Dr. Naresh Trehan. We'll keep this conversation a little different. Usually conversations with Dr. Trehan are around cardiology, around setting up of a hospital, etc. But today's conversation, we would like to keep around the person Dr. Naresh Trehan is. I do hope that you will like this episode and know more about the person that Dr. Naresh Trehan is. I believe that a lot of people do the same things, but the difference is in how they do it. Dr. Trehan, thank you so much for taking out time to speak with us on BW Healthcare World. This conversation is going to be around your life, because I believe that what somebody else is doing is the same as what you are doing, but the way you do it is very, very different. Let's go back to your initial journey as a child. When I was researching a little bit about you, I came to know that you were born with being left-handed, and then one of your tutors actually broke your finger so that you were forced to write with your right hand. What is your experience? Did it leave an impression on you for a later part of your life?
It's true. And in the beginning, in the schools, when you are writing, you always craft your handwriting.
Correct.
There was a Hindi tutor of mine who thought that left-handed was bad luck. It was a widely held belief at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to break my knuckles with on a pencil to say, switch to your right hand, it's unlucky to be left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was forced to do it, and I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my handwriting went to hell. And I used to always be very angry with him and curse him about what he had done. Because I didn't believe in all this sort of superstition that left hand is bad or whatever. So I lived through it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing good about my profession, I became a doctor, is that you don't need a good handwriting, because
people don't expect
it. It's well known. No, it's well known that it's very difficult to read doctors' handwriting. So my handwriting went to pot, but I survived. But then when I became a surgeon, especially when I reached New York and I started my surgical training, then it became very clear that I could use both hands, because before that I could use both hands because I used to bowl with my left hand and bat from right hand. So but I never paid any attention to it because it was like such a gross thing, bowling and batting. But when I started doing surgery, I realized that I could use my left hand as well as my right hand. So it gave a huge advantage to be able to operate, especially in cardiac surgery, where speed is of essence. Very important to be able to do we do anastomosis. We call it anastomosis when we join the arteries, and they are like 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter. So if you can do it with both hands and you turn the corner, it gives you a great advantage. So that's when I realized that this tutor of mine had done me a great favor, which I was all this time feeling very bad about. So the next time I came visiting from the US, I brought him some big number of presents went and thanked him, and I said, look, I cursed you all this time. I used to actually be almost abusive. And I said that today the whole scenario has changed, and I am eternally grateful that you did it in your belief, which I still believe was mistaken, but anyway, it helped me.
It helped you.
Yeah, so it is true.
And Dr. Trehan, you were born in a family of doctors. Your father was an ENT surgeon. And one thing that I've not just researched, but I know it from my father, is that he was a very kind soul. He was known to serve patients who deserved treatment but could not afford it, but he would do charity, do free services. This kind of a thing impacts belief systems, value systems. Are there such kind of belief systems, value systems that you imbibe from your parents that helped you to do a practice differently than anyone else?
So, I don't know if you step back, I was born before partition.
Yes.
I was born in Karachi, and then we were thrown out. My parents used to practice in a place called, which is now Faisalabad. It was known as Lalpur, and then overnight, because they started putting the houses, burning the houses down and all that, and then they had to rush out. So we arrived in Delhi, and I don't remember most of it except the fact that we hear about it. But my parents got a 3-room flat allotted to them in Connaught Place, opposite Plaza Cinema. So my father used to practice in one room, my mother was in the other, and in the third room we used to live. That is 4 of us, my sister, myself, and my parents. So there was an intense interaction because all this activity was going on around us when we were growing up. So you are right that it did have many instances happened when a lot of other people who had been displaced also had no money. But they would come in crying and didn't have the money, and my father would treat them, and then, you know, it was earache. He was an ENT surgeon.
Correct.
So it was whether it's earache or tonsils or whatever, and he would do it without charging them, whoever could not afford it. You're right about that. But it also gave us a very good feeling that how you can actually help people. This is, of course, I'm sure in my subconscious, it influenced me. One of the great things that used to happen is this is the interaction with people, that you understand how people can be, you know, disadvantaged and still be grateful.
Yes.
So I remember there was a cook at some restaurant who needed an operation. My father did it free because he couldn't afford it. And then a few weeks later, he comes back with a full roast chicken, which he made specially for the family, just to thank him. There was a shoemaker who actually couldn't pay for the treatment, and he took imprints of our feet. We were like 4 years old or something, and he made shoes for us. So these are impressions that last you forever, that there is an interaction with humanity, which is you know, a very important element of your own life.
Correct.
So yes, even today, we will always feel that anybody who can't afford it, somehow we have to help him get the disease cured one way or the other. So this is a daily event, and I'm sure it came from my childhood.
Absolutely. My uncle, you know, became a heart patient in 1980s, early 1980s, and that was a time when he was advised that he will need to go to the US. 1995, my father needed the surgery, and you operated upon him, and it was at Escorts. Things changed. You know, from the time people were looking at going to the West, today we have people coming from the West, and a lot of that is owed to you. How did you, because I know there have been lots of stories written about you coming back to India, starting Escorts, but now it is, you know, you are associated with Medanta. So I feel that, you know, it's time to relook at the story of how you chose to come back to India, what motivated you, and how did it all happen?
Well, actually, my wife and I were before we got married even, were part of a study group in our college days.
Right.
And the study group, there were 40 students, friends. We became friends, but we shared a belief. So we shared that belief that India, to move forward as a country, had to take care of the people who were left behind. And we were searching for what is the right system that India should adopt. So we were used to invite all these different philosophies, you know, like politicians, philosophers, economists and all that, because we called it a study group. And they would address us and tell us how to look at things in a different way. So it was a very intense group, and we used to go to, now it's a very fancy place, but then it was Patparganj was a village. So we used to go there And I used to run a clinic on Sundays, free clinic for the people around there. And the boys used to help the farmers with their agriculture. We used to borrow or rent tractors and go and help them. And the women used to help the women in the village with all sorts of crafts and stuff like that. So that was our first interaction with, as part of that group, to work with in the rural area. And this went on for 3-4 years. Whenever I was studying medicine in Lucknow. Whenever I used to come back, and on Sundays it was a ritual, we used to do that. So when we were leaving, in this group, we said that yes, we are going, and in the meantime we got married, and we said, but we will definitely come back, learn whatever there is to learn, and then come back. That was the stated goal, because I had already become a doctor by then. So this was always in our mind, that commitment that yes, we are coming back. Okay, and I always felt, as my journey went through, my first 7 years was training at New York University, and then university asked me to stay on as a faculty. So, but that endeavor was always how to get back to India. But if you see, there were hardly any hospitals which were suitable to start, except for All India Institute.
Correct.
There was hardly any hospitals, especially in Delhi, where I belong to, that could actually support a heart system. And one thing was clear to me, that I wanted to come back, not to just because there was nobody else and I would operate and make money and all that, but I thought, let us bring the whole ecosystem of the cardiac, which included cardiology, invasive, non-invasive, surgery, preventive, all that stuff, so that it would be a full system.
Right.
So the idea was there, but then it was a exercise which was going on, but we couldn't find the suitable situation. Till one day, Mr. H.P. Nanda, who was the chairman of Escorts, he was coming to New York, and he asked my wife's father and my father, who he was friends with, that I'm going there, I would like to meet the kids, meet Naresh. So he arrived in New York, and he said, I want to see the hospital. So I was taking him around, and an incident happened that I was helping, one of my seniors was in trouble, and I was helping him to get out of that complication that he got into in the operating room while we were walking around. And Mr. Nanda said, if you are helping your seniors here, you don't belong here, you belong in India. I must take you back. So I said, there is no place. He said, no, look, I have, as Escorts as a company, we have made enough money from the country. I want to give back also. So that's when we shook hands and started the journey. Now, this journey meant that we made association, but where to get the land from? We couldn't find any land, because Delhi was like chock-a-block, and if to have a heart institute meant that you had to be in the city. You can't be outside, because by the time a heart attack patient gets to you, they are gone already.
Yes.
So that's why, this is where luck comes in. He came in cold, without any thought of building a hospital in India. He saw the operating room, saw exactly what was happening and what I was doing, and he then suggested that, so that was the ray of hope. Then we ran into kind of some blockage because we couldn't find the land. And there was only 2 hospitals here, which was pretty primitive at that time. So one day, this, you can say providence, you can say luck, whatever you can call it, that I got a call to say that somebody who was close to Mrs. Gandhi, when she was Prime Minister still, needed an operation in India. So I said, where do we operate? But anyway, when I came here, realized that the person was almost gone, revived him, realized that his heart function was only 20%. And then I said, we can't operate here. So we took him to New York, operated on him. The guy, he survived. And when he came back, he told the story to Mrs. Gandhi that I was almost gone and this is what happened. So she said to him that when Dr. Trehan comes again, please bring him to me. The rest is history, because I did, when I heard about it, he wrote me a letter and I came rushing back and I met her. And that's how the whole story, we got the land in New Friends Colony and built it. That's when I returned with everybody, all Indians who were all overseas. They all joined together because when they heard I was building this and I was coming back, they also wanted to come back. So we started, and you know the characters who are part of the whole thing that came back with me. And they made a big difference in the sense that cardiac wise, we started with 150 beds, we grew it to 330 beds, helped to train maybe over 150 cardiologists and surgeons. Not only that, helped at least 50 other hospitals to build heart centers. So that was a real, I mean, you can say a time when you felt such gratitude of coming back to India, and it was great fun. Then situations changed, and I had in 2003 I had realized that single specialty hospital, although we had taken it to a great height, has certain disadvantages, like when a patient needs other specialists, you don't have that level of specialists available.
Correct.
So that's when I've thought that we need to make the institutions like the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, Stanford, Harvard, these are the institutions where there is a platform where all the experts of different specialties, you can say the best in the world, will perform on the same platform. That was the concept.
Lovely.
That's why this 1400 bed hospital, to bring to India that standard.
Awesome. I think it's a classic case of the universe putting everything in place to make things happen. I think that journey to today.
So that's what I said. You call it whatever name you want to, but the basic thing is it gives you one very clear message. And I'm a believer in it. That, you know, there are no geniuses. There are things that happen in your life which catapult you to a level where you can help, you can perform, and you achieve some recognition.
Correct.
So that's basically the whole thing that I mean, of course, there's a lot of hard work you have to do. There's no such thing as getting anywhere without hard work. But beyond that, a lot of people work hard but don't have that kind of opportunity or luck or whatever, like I said. And when it happens, if you recognize it and you can ride that wave, then you can go a longer distance. That's basically, like I said, if you look at a surfer, they wait for the wave to come, and the one who catches the biggest wave will go the farthest. So this is what happens. If it comes your way and you can ride it, it helps. So one thing led to the other. Awesome. And here we are. So,
you put your heart and soul in setting up Escorts, bringing to a level. It was a conviction, your faith in your own abilities, your faith in what you were doing, and everything else put together. You would have been very, very attached to that system, to that institute. In 2005, when Escorts had to be sold, what were your emotions?
Of utter anger and disappointment because Mr. Hari Nanda had passed away. And the successors didn't have any value for it. And they actually ran into trouble and had to sell overnight without even telling me. So my thing was, it's on record that, you know, it's a terrible thing to have happened and done. It was contrary to all principles that one should practice, but it happened. But fortunately, I was already building Medanta. And then I mean, it became worse. In 2007, I left escorts, which of course, when you said it was my baby, and I had turned down many offers giving me opportunity for doubling my income instantly, whatever, but I didn't, because I had created it and I was loyal to it. But that loyalty was between Mr. Harinanda and myself, not the rest of the family.
Right.
So he was also a very mature gentleman who actually, one day there was some trouble in the company and he said, "Don't get disappointed, I'll sell the shirt off my back, but this hospital will happen." So that's the kind of human being he was.
Right.
And then I had to deal with people who didn't have any value, so it's okay.
63
But fortunately, like I said again, help comes from goodwill and luck. So everybody came to invite me to that. So it all worked out beautifully.
Yes. I mean,
so here we are.
Whatever happens for a reason.
Well, that's one of the things that people always ask me, that when somebody betrays you, you don't seem to get angry. And I said, look, first of all, I am a believer that anybody who does bad things will meet their fate in this life. And over many incidents, it's happened that they have undone themselves. So there is an intervention.
Yes.
So you don't have to get angry. You just keep your work, keep going, and that's fine.
Dr. Trehan, 63 to 69 is when you went to King's George College, and then you went to US and you became a surgeon. You did your first practice there. You came back to India. In these many years, there's been a lot of technology development, technology advancements that has happened. From the time that you were studying medicine to today, do you think our medical education system has kept itself updated? If not, what do you think needs to happen?
You've rolled many questions into one question. So let me start with the fact that, there is certain things that change your life. And one of the things that did was my training at NYU, New York University in New York, under the tutelage of Dr. Frank Spencer, who was a remarkable heart surgeon and the greatest teacher you would ever find. And when you talk about technology, you talk about science, the two lessons that are very clear in my mind, which we learned from him, was he always said that if you are standing still, you're going backwards. You're not standing still because the world is passing you by. And if you're not better today than yesterday, then you wasted 24 hours. That is so deeply ingrained in me that I still live like that. Because when you sleep, science has already moved. And if you are so ensconced in your achievement or success or whatever, and don't actually develop on a daily basis, then you are actually leading yourself to be fossilized at one day. And that's a tragedy, because if you had, for whatever, how you got it, wherever you got it, if you had the ability to do something and you don't do it, that's a crime.
Correct.
So that's why I do move with science. Coming to your question, and this is one of the things about Vedanta, is that the whole idea of building this was that we create the platform. Building a building, which you call the facility, is easy because anybody can do it. It just takes money and planning and knowledge, a little bit of knowledge. Second is technology you can buy, but the main thing is the human capital.
Correct.
So human capital, our three criteria for when we started was very clear, that we will actually have the system that is followed by Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Harvard, where there are institutes within the institute, so that each specialty, like we will have a cardiac institute, neuroscience institute, cancer institute. So we have all these into gastroenterology. So all these individual pillars are there, which culminate into supporting the larger system, which is called as Medanta.
Right.
So the basic thing that comes is that the chairman has to have 3 attributes. They should be benchmarked to anybody in the world. So they should not locally benchmark, but internationally benchmark.
Right.
And they would become the chairman. The second was that they had reached a stage in their life that they are ready to give of themselves, train people, grow the department, not be, the typical message that I used to get when I came to India was, don't teach anybody to do heart surgery, because they will then come to bite your hand. And I am totally from the opposite side, because I am a beneficiary of that training which Dr. Frank Spencer held our hand and gave us that skill. So we have relentlessly trained, imparted knowledge, insisted that people become good. Okay, and so it's like, if you think that you are creating competition, it's your weakness, because you should be better on a daily basis. So what you have trained, they can also grow. You are growing even faster than them. That's the message.
Correct.
Of life.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, you don't let me block people because I don't want them to grow. So the third point that we had, the prerequisite of our chairman would be that they should have impeccable integrity.
Right.
Because the whole essence of medicine is that the patient must feel that he is getting the best skill, best technology with honesty and compassion. These are the 4 parts that anybody would be looking for.
Correct.
And if you can deliver that, then you have actually been able to overcome the grief of an individual who is suffering from a disease. So that's the sum total of how we structured it.
Correct.
And the responsibility of every chairman is to expand their departments deep, train people, and also, as you know, that we are at Medanta now, we have 5 hospitals already, and the 6th one, Noida, is actually going to be ready in the next 4 or 5 months.
Yes.
That we like to make our own people, give them opportunity to become seniors in another institution, because they have imbibed the Medanta way of care, as I said, the integrity and all that.
Yes.
And they can then have the opportunity to grow.
Correct.
So that is the methodology that we have been using, and many of our new hospitals have got people who were trained here, and they've gone there and started developing the departments over there. So this has been the methodology, and this been for us a real rewarding experience, because the people actually feel comfortable. We never advertise. Our only ambassadors are our patients, who they get well and they go and bring more patients, and that's how the whole thing propagates. So this is I think the value system that we also want to impart to the upcoming generations, because it's very easy today to fall prey to quick results, quick success, quick money. I don't think that that's necessarily will take you where you want to go.
Got it.
So if you want the dignity of medicine, if you want the recognition that medicine gives you, I think it's better to do it the right way than try to buy it with money or other things.
Got it. And sir, you mentioned that the biggest value or the biggest asset for an organization is its people. The human-centric approach in terms of hiring the best people. But we are all human beings, so are you. And are there any decisions that you regret today having taken? Are there things that you want to, when you reflect upon your own journey, that you would think that you would have done it differently if you were to take that decision today?
See, I think the most comfortable feeling for an individual is trust in yourself and other people.
Correct.
Knowing very well you may get hurt because somebody may betray your trust. This has happened to me many times, but fortunately it has not made me waver from the path. And every person who's part of your organization should be like a family. They must also know that you are there for them in good and bad.
Right.
So it's basically that comfort that, we have people here with me for 35 years since I came back, and my secretary is married, their children got married now, so they went to college. So this is a good feeling to have, that the family is growing, and most people actually, value systems change as generations change. People are a little more impatient with life, but trying to zigzag through life also doesn't get you very far.
Got it.
So I think that's just stick to your core and you'll do well.
Right. So when I look at the patient-doctor relationship, when I was young, I would observe we had family doctors that we would go to. They were actually like family. But over a period of time, when I look at the patient-doctor relationship today, it has gone through a sea change. There's a deficit of trust that is there. Where did we go wrong, and what do you think needs to happen today?
See, one thing is that there is, from the mid-80s, the world changed. The world changed from community, from a global community to me. And it all became like I'm there for me only. And that is what has actually led to a lot of distress in life. So money became the measurement of success.
Right.
Whereas in medicine or some of the other professions, we are in it not because we couldn't have made more money elsewhere. Of course we could have. I mean, you say as much work as we put in, if you sit on the stock exchange, probably you'll do much better because doctors are basically gifted with a lot of knowledge.
Yes.
So the point is basically that if you really enjoy your profession, it is a very joyous, many people say, let's do this, do that. I still like to get up in the morning at 6 o'clock and come to work, because it gives you a lot of satisfaction and joy to that you are actually helping other people. So it's not in everybody's DNA to do that, but if that's what I have inherited or I've developed or whatever has happened, that becomes a little bit of a obsession in your own work. So point basically is right now that when money became the benchmark of success, then a lot of wayward things would happen naturally. You can just tell from the number of people who have landed up in jail, who were very successful companies, everything.
Right.
So there is some currency in walking the straight line, and situations change, the world has changed, but if you keep your proportion, Alexander, who died at the age of 34, had conquered half the world.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So when he was ordering his coffin, he told the craftsman to leave 2 holes for his hands, because he wanted to show that I came to this world empty-handed and I'm going empty-handed. And this is one of the things why people have so much obsession with money, that it's just that much is enough.
Correct.
I'm not saying that money has no value, but after a point it is...
It should not be taken as a metric of success.
No, not only that. If you just obsess, when we were kids, we used to read comics of Uncle Scrooge.
Yes.
Uncle Scrooge that character is playing out today.
Right.
If you look at families fighting over little things, the biggest tragedy is you inherited 100 crores or 110 crores. If you're fighting over that, you don't deserve anything, basically. So I'm saying that there are value systems should be maintained and I think that we are just building a medical college here. And that whole thing of what is missing in our education today is integrity, compassion, community feeling. Those are not subjects. Now, these are subjects that we want to introduce in addition to the NEET or the MBBS curriculum that there is. But beyond that, you can create humane doctors.
Value systems being instilled in them.
Right.
And Dr. Trehan, India has developed a lot, and we are now having a lot of overseas patients coming to India. What is it that we have done right, and where is it that we need to overcome the challenges so that we are able to invite patients not just from underdeveloped countries but also from developed countries, we've seen Indian doctors doing wonders across the world.
This is so true that Indian doctors or the Indian brain is actually superior. I have experienced, like in the sense I was in the US, 17% of all super specialists, even in that time, were Indians. Today, Indians, Trump has inducted 5 Indians in his cabinet.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So, they've done extremely well wherever they are. But the basic fact remains that we have a little bit of twist in our behavior pattern. Okay. Now, to attract people from overseas needs good facilities, good skills, and fair system so that people feel that they are being treated properly with the right cost. And so, that is one part of it. So, the people who are inward travelers must be assured of quality also, which they don't know.
Correct.
So, there has to be a system as a country that if you look at it, if you look at other countries, you take Thailand, you take Turkey, you take Malaysia, these are countries that have actually established a system where only the ones that qualify, the institutions that qualify certain criteria will be added on to the list of what they communicate outside. So, their embassies, all their overseas boards, they do a package promotion of even healthcare along with other things.
Right.
So, one is the fact that there has to be awareness around the world that India offers reasonable cost medicine which is not low end, which is the highest end you can find in the world. So, if that message goes out, people will start trusting the Indian medical system more. Second is that it is very difficult for people today to get visas because our scrutiny it takes time, and somebody is ill. They can't wait. They'll find the closest country or the fastest country that can give them a visa. They'll get on a plane and go.
Correct.
And the third thing is that we have very few direct flights to India. So, our traditional markets like Africa or Southeast Asia, they have to hop flights.
Right.
And then that's a problem. Also, if you see in good hospitals, there is very good quality of services at a reasonable cost. We are not well organized because a lot of the patients are coming through intermediaries who actually take their pound of flesh, which is not good for the patient, not good for the hospitals.
Hospital as well.
So, it's not a good thing. So, we have actually been talking about that we should get ourselves organized a little better, make the experience seamless from one awareness to when they decide to come to India, the visa should be, at least the medical visa should be expedited.
Correct.
Whatever information we need to provide to our embassies by way of clarifying certain things, because there is always a security concern.
Correct.
Which is rightfully so. But we may be able to help. And then we should also have that we receive them at the airport. We should treat them and put them back on the plane home. So, that circuit should be a seamless circuit, and everybody should feel that there is accountability along the way. That people, it's not like people come on a medical visa and then disappear. So it has to be one point to another connected.
Got it.
So the tracking has to be done. I think
Absolutely.
that will help with the security, and it will also help the patients, because then they would also be taken care of seamlessly.
Absolutely. I think that's a very brilliant suggestion. Dr. Trehan, as a concluding the first part of the interview, we will continue in the second part. We'll just have 5 rapid fire answers, 1-word answers. What is that one value that you feel every surgeon must demonstrate?
Simply treat every patient as your parent or your relative or your brother or your sister. Then you will do the right thing.
What is that one word that defines the Indian healthcare system to the world?
Excellence.
What is that one value you believe every healthcare entrepreneur must demonstrate?
So one cannot get lost. I have often said, good medicine can make good business. People will break the door down and come to you, and if you do the right thing. But good business does not make good medicine. So every entrepreneur, no matter what their background is and what their desire is to enter healthcare for, should remember that there is a human being on the other side, and you cannot short circuit things to make money at the cost of a human being. Cannot happen and should not happen, and it should be punishable if that is demonstrated.
And what is that one thing that the government needs to solve to build a better, more efficient healthcare system in this country?
So the government is actually quite supportive in a way, and has created a lot of safety net for many people who could not access healthcare. So I think that the government is doing the right things. Yes, there are certain things that can help because we need to double the whole sector. We need to double our beds, we need to double the physicians, the nurses, everything that we need, trained practitioner. We need for our own needs, forget about the rest of the world. And then also we have a big upside in training people here, and I believe that there is no such thing as brain drain. You just, because there are enough Indians who can come into the mainstream, they are very intelligent, they just need to be given the right kind of education, and they will perform as well or better than anybody in the world. So we have a major advantage. So I think that the government can help in some ways. That there are issues with GST, that we pay GST but we can't get set off.
Correct.
There are the payments that come from the schemes take a long time, and then we have to pay interest to the banks, so it becomes a little bit of stress. So the smaller the hospital, the more the stress on them. So that's why I think it's important that we streamline the system a little bit, so that people get the services, the institutions and the doctors get their payments in time, and then it will only help to lower the cost. Because every benefit that the government can give to us in creating new infrastructure, there are loans given at a subvented rate to many industries.
Correct.
There are many industries and many states that are giving the advantage of GST refunds and all that stuff.
Correct.
But it's not for medicine. And that's why we say that it is true that medicine over the period of time will become more and more expensive, like it is around the world. But if there are benefits coming down to the provider, then those benefits should be passed on to the patient.
Absolutely.
So that his cost becomes less. He can access more quality health care.
Right.
So this is the whole endeavor. Manufacturing in India, some of the import substitution, they'll all help. They'll all help. So I think that there is a human angle to everything we do, including the taxation. So I think if that moderation can be done, it will help.
And the last one being, sir, since you were talking of the human angle, what is that one thing which will redefine the patient-doctor relationship, or should redefine the patient-doctor relationship in times to come?
See, the way we are trained to deal with disease. Then we said, as a collective, why let them get so sick? Let's do early detection.
Right.
So a lot of technology came for early detection. Then we said, why let them get sick at all? So let's do wellness. Wellness, the way it was defined very poorly, because we said, don't do this, don't do that, don't eat this, don't drink this. Not understanding that human beings want to live. So the basic thing was that now we said, instead of painting the whole world with the same recommendations, let's do precision medicine. Predictive precision, personalized medicine is what we are doing right now.
Right.
Okay. So that's one technological advancement in our thinking, that today we can make what we can say in Hindi is the health janam patri of a person.
Got it.
Or you can say health patri.
Yes.
Okay. So we know we take a combination of genomics, take the phenomics, their lifestyle, their body structure, all that, and the digital health. If we combine the three into one algorithm, we can come up with the prediction for an individual, what they should be doing and what they should be avoiding and what is the dangers to them. Okay, that's one part. More importantly, to address your question properly, is the fact that when a patient comes to us, we only deal with his disease. By coincidence, I was asked to give a lecture on medicine and Gita. So I did some research, and it came out that in Mahabharata, actually, if you see, Arjun is the patient and Krishna is the physician. Look at it from the point of view that Krishna as a physician is not only treating with superficial stuff, but actually in the whole narrative is understanding the Arjun
person.
Okay. So when a patient comes to us, and I've changed myself, is to say he's coming not just with his disease, he's got a huge burden on his head about will I live, if I get operated on, how much is it going to hurt, how much is going to cost me, will it ruin me economically, what will happen to my family. All these things are running through his head. Now if you take 1 minute to connect with the patient, that you understand all more than the fact that yes, he's got blockages in 3 arteries, we have to do a bypass, then you have actually connected with the patient, because you have downloaded his pain on you in a way, but not to be afraid, you share it.
Correct.
Share it because you ask. So that's what I do now, and it doesn't take much longer, it takes 1 or 2 minutes to connect.
Absolutely.
And it actually, half the problem gets solved with the patient's confidence.
Sir, I have one last question which I am very tempted to ask, and it is related to a book that I am penning. It's called Defeating Cancer, where I am trying to understand that apart from the doctor and the medicine, what is the role that a patient has that they are able to muster up the courage to fight the disease or choose to give up because of financial issues or the burden that the family is going through. Is there something that you have observed on the human side of the patient while treating in the last 5 decades?
You know, basically, never spell doom for a patient. We are obliged to tell the truth also, because you can't mislead people. But at the same time, you can't paint a gloomy picture all the time. So, as long as there is hope, the immune system will fight it. See, you're not only invoking the drugs that you're using, their strength, but also invoking the body's immune response, because it's a combined fight. And that's why you'll see people who are relatively healthy can fight a disease better than people who are actually dilapidated or have lost their health to many. So they become more prone to problems. So never, always give them hope, but without misleading them.
Got it. Got it.
So if you keep giving them hope, I've met, I was a young person, about 12 years old. We were visiting a tea estate and staying with some relative. And every evening I used to watch another person who was staying there because in tea estates there are beautiful homes.
Correct.
Every evening I would say at night time he would carry sodas in his hand, 3-4 of them, a bottle of whiskey in his arm, in his armpit, and walk off into his room. So I asked this relative who was the owner of this whole place, I said, what's this person is drinking all the time? He says, it's a very tragic thing that happened. He was told 4 years ago that your liver is shot and you're going to die within the next 3 to 6 months. So he decided that if I'm going to die, I might as well keep drinking. So he has sold he was my neighbor, he sold his tea estate, he's run into ruin in the last 4 years, he's still alive. So it's a lesson to learn at a young age to say, how can you predict?
Correct.
So this is a wrong thing that doctor can say it is curtains at this time, because you don't know. You don't know. People have bounced back from so many things. So I think it's important to keep the perspective in mind that yes, you can warn the person that you stop doing what you are doing, but never predict that you only have 3 months to live.
Got it. I think that's a brilliant note to conclude the first part of the conversation, Dr. Trehan. Thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to the part 2 of this.